So The Slayer from 1982, a staple of big box VHS. I clearly remember that big box VHS, which was a double feature of The Slayer and Scalps, J.S. Cardone. It was a film I never watched before. I guess I was always waiting for a good video transfer. And that day has finally come. Arrow Films, another just knocking it out of the box. Arrow Films coming out with yet another incredible video transfer from the negative, a film which looks like it was shot yesterday, and incredible revitalization of this film. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad I waited this long to watch it because it really looks beautiful, and the film is really good. It was always kind of lumped in with the slasher films, but it was always kind of like, oh, this was a different type of movie. This is kind of a special type of movie. It was a different type of film. And very frequently, they would compare the film to A Nightmare on Elm Street because, you know, the Nightmare on Elm Street was like 1984 and the Slayer was 1982. And it was like this movie, you know, like 2 or 3 years before A Nightmare on Elm Street had a dream killer. You know, a monster which comes out of your dreams and kills people. But the movies, you know, the Slayer is the farthest thing from A Nightmare on Elm Street. The Slayer is really one of those. It is kind of like Scalps. It's about it's one of those films where it's like a horror film where it's about a group of people who go to a remote location and then one by one they're picked off. But The Slayer is like a really moody, atmospheric type of film. It's a really cool film. It's got a good vibe. You know, it was shot in 1980, and it has this kind of like that late 70s, early 80s look. It was that kind of like, it's not quite the 70s, the bell bottoms and the disco, but then again, it's not quite the 80s. So it's not quite the 70s. It's not quite the 80s. It was that look that was, you know, what everybody was wearing from like the late 70s, from like about 75, 76 to about 85. You know, it's that kind of look. It's a good look. The atmospheric location photography out on Tybee Island in the Georgia area, it looks beautiful, atmospheric. And it has, you know, it has this reputation as being a kind of a gore film. And there are a few gore scenes. There is one spectacular special effect with a pitchfork, which, you know, no spoilers there because that's kind of the signature that what the film is known for. And then there is some brief moments with the monster, very tastefully done brief moments. But the film is, you know, again, one of those just kind of like a group of, you know, two couples go to a remote island. One of the couples, the wife is troubled by these dreams of murder and mayhem, and then suddenly the monster comes out of the dreams and starts to kill people. It's one of those things. Again, it's not really quite Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a little bit different. It's a little more moody and atmospheric. And and it has that kind of 70s vibe. And, you know, this film became really controversial in the 80s. It was one of the first films that was banned by the BBFC and the video nasty phenomenon. And it got this reputation as being like this slasher film, but it's more moody, atmospheric, kind of a ghost film type of thing. The soundtrack, beautiful kind of orchestral soundtrack. I always got a kick out of the trailer, where it sounded like in the trailer, like the first part of the trailer was like some Bernard Herrmann's Vertigo, you know, and it does kind of sound like it has this kind of neoclassical, kind of Bernard Herrmann-esque in moments, John Williams in other moments. It has this really beautiful score. That I love, you know. I don't even know if it was ever released. There are parts of the score are isolated or available on the Blu-ray, but I don't know if it was released separately. It's a beautiful film. And I mean, even on VHS, you could tell the film looked beautiful, but it was just, from that horrible early 80s video transfer that kept getting re-released on DVD over the years, and I don't think it ever really had an official DVD release in the US for years. Now, Arrow Films has righted that wrong. This set, I mean, first of all, you open it up, and the box art with the new illustration is beautiful. You open it up, and even in the reverse art, which is the original theatrical poster, is wonderful, is beautiful. There's a really nice, really long documentary on the making of the film on the Blu-ray. There's a whole featurette on Tybee Island, the shooting location for the film, and little tidbits from the cameraman, the second unit DP. There's a whole Q&A with him. There's a whole audience track. This is one of those releases like the Pieces audience track, where you can listen to the movie with the audience, which I think is incredible. I think that's a wonderful thing. And the whole I haven't watched the film with the commentary track by J.S. Cardone yet, but I'm sure that's going to be wonderful, and trailers and all the rest. It's a wonderful film, and it really the look of the film is so incredible. It's just, I love movies where people get stuck on a deserted island and then something's killing, like Shockwaves. It reminded me of Shockwaves as well. Shockwaves is a better movie. I have this unerring love for Shockwaves, but the Slayer, I rewatched parts of it, this Blu-ray, and I rewatched parts of it, and I'm really digging it. I'm really loving it. I love the 70s vibe to it. The 1980s. The 1980 vibe, which is really the 70s vibe to it. It's just, and I love the fact that it's not teenagers. It's mid 30s, mid to late 30s, early 40s people. There's no sex and mayhem thing. These people, they want to go on a vacation. It's all about sipping brandy and going fishing. So it's that kind of different vibe of a different type of people, as opposed to like Scalps, which was supposed to be like young college students, but they were like young college students who looked like they were in their early 30s, or rather their early 40s, late 30s. Fred and Ray used to say anybody can be a college student. You can be in your early 40s and be a college student. So there were some quite old college students. Not so in the Slayer. They're supposed to be, all of the people in this film are supposed to be like commercial directors and actors and artists. The lead actress, the lead character, is this artist who's haunted by these nightmarish visions which come out in her surrealist work, and she's had a crisis, a career crisis, because suddenly these nightmarish, hellish visions of the monster have manifested themselves in her work, and people don't like it. So a great movie, something you should search out, something you should check out, a curio that really up until this time hasn't really been released properly on home video, a video nasty which didn't really deserve the nasty reputation because it's far more atmospheric, a wonderful film.